Buckle up, everybody, because today we're diving headfirst into one of those mysteries that just refuses to die, the Bermuda Triangle. And we're not just talking about a couple of lost fishing boats here. Oh, no. We're talking vanishing planes, ghost ships, disappearances, the kind that would give even the most seasoned sailor the chills. Think about it. Entire Navy bomber squadrons, like Flight 19, just got poof. Or a massive cargo ship like the Cyclops back in 1918 vanished without a trace.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? And what's even crazier is that it's not just the sheer number of incidents, but the variety too. It's almost as if the Bermuda Triangle has this, I don't know, this appetite for the unusual. And that's where things get really interesting. That's where we get into the theories.
The theories. Oh, man, don't even get me started on the theories. It's like this smorgasbord of the strange and bizarre. We've got everything from time warps and magnetic vortices to sea monsters and whispers of Atlantis. It's wild. Got to give credit where credit is due. Charles Berlitz, he's the guy who really put the Bermuda Triangle on the map, so to speak, with his book, The Bermuda Triangle. And he just threw out all these wild ideas, dimensional rifts, underwater Atlantean technology, you name it. He probably had a theory about it.
And then you throw in those creepy fictional accounts, the ones that really get under your skin. Like Tim Curran in his books, Dead Sea Chronicles and Dead Sea, he creates this like nightmarish version of the Sargasso Sea. Seriously, talk about creepy. You've got these terrifying squid-like creatures, ghostly encounters, a ship practically dissolving in this, I don't know, this aggressive seaweed. It's enough to make you swear off ocean voyages for life.
Seriously, no kidding. So we've got this stack of sources, we've got historical accounts, scientific studies, even those spine-tingling novels. And our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to sift through it all, separate the fact from the fiction, and see if we can get to the bottom of what's really happening in the Bermuda Triangle. Ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
Okay, so where do we even begin with a mystery this massive and this mysterious?
I think a good place to start would be to explore those fantastical theories, the ones that have really captured people's imaginations over the years. Like, take time-space warps, for example. The idea that there are these portals or rifts that can transport ships and planes through time or even into other dimensions.
Oh, yeah, the whole time travel thing. Berlitz was all over that in his book.
Yeah.
He had stories about ships appearing and disappearing, people experiencing time slips, all sorts of weird anomalies that just couldn't be explained. It's like straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Exactly. And this whole portal thing, it kind of connects with another popular theory, magnetic anomalies and gravity vortices. The idea is that there could be these unusual magnetic fields or gravitational disturbances in the Bermuda Triangle that mess with navigation or even cause vessels to sink or vanish.
Wait a minute, hold on. Isn't there like a real-world place that kind of ties into this? Something about vile vortices.
You're totally right. Brett Nielsen, in his article, Deterritorializing the Bermuda Triangle, he mentions these vile vortices. They're supposed to be located along the 30th parallel, and wouldn't you know it, one of them just happens to be smack dab in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle.
Okay, so picture this. These areas with supercharged energy, maybe messing with compasses and electronics, causing ships to lose their way and disappear. Spooky red, but let's be honest, some of the most captivating theories, the ones that really grab you, they involve sea monsters, am I right? I mean, who hasn't imagined some giant kraken pulling ships down to their doom?
Oh, absolutely. And Tim Curran, he really taps into that primal fear in Dead Sea Chronicles. He describes these encounters with these absolutely monstrous crustaceans, massive squid-like creatures that attack ships and even take down a plane. It's insane. It's like something out of a horror movie, I'm telling you.
Totally. And then there's the theory that links the Bermuda Triangle to, wait for it, the legendary lost city of Atlantis. That super advanced civilization that supposedly existed thousands of years ago, the one we hear about in whispers and legends.
Oh, yeah, Atlantis. And that theory gets even wilder when you bring Edgar Cayce into the mix. He was this famous psychic and mystic, and he believed that the Atlanteans had all this advanced technology, like energy-generating crystals, that could still be causing disruptions in the Bermuda Triangle today.
Whoa, that's just adding fuel to the fire, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let me get this straight. We've got time travel, magnetic mayhem, sea monsters, and remnants of a lost civilization, all swirling around in this one little patch of ocean. It's a lot to take in, and to be honest, it all sounds pretty far-fetched. But here's the thing. Despite all the myths and legends, there have been real disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle, cases that can't be easily explained away. So the question is, where do we go from here? How do we separate the truth from the tall tales?
That's where things get really interesting. We need to shift gears, step back from the fantastical, and dive into those actual incidents, the documented cases, the hard evidence. We need to start unraveling the truth behind the legend, and I think a good place to start is with the disappearance of the Cyclops. Remember, this wasn't just some little boat. We're talking about a massive, well-built cargo ship that just
And
vanished.
vanished without a trace, right? No distress calls, no wreckage, nothing. Charles Berlitz even talks about it in the Bermuda Triangle, and he highlights just how mysterious it was. It's like it just sailed into thin air, poof.
Exactly. And of course, everyone's got a theory, right? Some folks said it was overloaded or maybe it capsized in a storm. But here's the thing. The ship was designed to handle some pretty rough conditions.
Yeah, Jake Von Alpen, in his book, The Triangle and the Mountain, really emphasizes that. He talks about how the Cyclops was built to withstand even the most brutal storms, like the kind you'd find off the Cape of Good Hope, no joke.
Precisely. And Lawrence Kusha, he's the guy who really dug deep and debunked a lot of the Bermuda Triangle myths in his book, The Bermuda Triangle Mystery Solved. He brings up another interesting point. He says that the Gulf Stream, that powerful current that flows through the area, could have easily swept any wreckage far, far away from the actual sinking point. That could explain why they never found anything.
Okay, so the Gulf Stream, that's a factor.
Mhm.
But what about those cases where they did find the ships, but they were totally abandoned, like ghost ships? Like the Connemara V, back in 1955, it was discovered 400 miles southwest of Bermuda, no crew, no explanation, just an empty ship.
Those are the cases that really make you wonder, aren't they? It's like whatever happened, it happened so fast, so unexpectedly, that the crew didn't even have time to react. It just adds to that whole sense of mystery and the unknown that surrounds the Bermuda Triangle.
It really does. It's chilling. It makes you think, what if there really is something out there, something we don't understand that can just snatch people away in an instant?
Now that's a scary thought, isn't it? And it's not just ships that have vanished under these mysterious circumstances. We can't forget about the planes. Like, case in point, Flight 19, those 5 Navy bombers that disappeared during a routine training flight, that's one for the history books. That's one of the most well-known incidents in the whole Bermuda Triangle saga.
Oh, yeah, Flight 19, absolutely. That one's a classic. While Charles Berlitz, in his book, The Bermuda Triangle, he really focuses on the mysterious side of things, the unexplainable aspects of the case. But Lawrence Kusha, in the Bermuda Triangle Mystery Solved, he offers a more grounded perspective. He points out that the pilots, they were reporting confusion and disorientation, which kind of suggests that navigational errors might have played a role in their disappearance.
And remember, this was way before GPS, right? Navigation back then, it was a whole different ballgame, much trickier. And Krush even clarifies that the pilots weren't actually unable to tell which way was west, like some of the, more dramatic versions of the story suggest. They were just lost, plain and simple, due to a combination of errors and, those unpredictable weather conditions out at sea.
Makes sense. And to complicate things even further, Kusha suggests that they might have mistaken the shallow Bahama banks for deeper water, and that could have led them to ditch the aircraft way too early, thinking they were in a more dire situation than they actually were. It's a tragic scenario for sure, but it's a plausible explanation.
It is, absolutely, and it highlights a crucial point. Even in these events that seem supernatural, there are often natural explanations just waiting to be discovered.
So we're seeing a pattern here, aren't we? Potential natural explanations for seemingly supernatural events. But I gotta ask, what about those reports of sudden storms, rogue waves, those things that seem to just pop up out of nowhere? Sometimes those feel, I don't know, a little too convenient, like they're just thrown into the story to make it more mysterious.
Well, the truth is, the Bermuda Triangle's location, it just makes it prone to sudden and severe weather events. That's just a fact of life in that part of the world. Hurricanes, rogue waves, waterspouts, they're all possibilities out there.
And those kinds of things can overwhelm even the most experienced sailors and the most well-equipped vessels, right? I mean, even Jake Von Alpen's book includes this harrowing account of a yacht caught in a sudden, intense storm in the Bermuda Triangle. They barely made it out alive.
Absolutely. And you bring up a good point. The media, they love to sensationalize these stories. They focus on the mystery and the intrigue, and they kind of gloss over the more mundane explanations. It's important to remember that human error, combined with the power of storytelling, it's contributed a lot to the whole Bermuda Triangle myth.
I see what you mean. So where does that leave us? Are we saying that the Bermuda Triangle is just a big misunderstanding, that there's nothing truly mysterious going on at all?
Not necessarily. I wouldn't go that far. While many incidents can definitely be chalked up to natural phenomena and good old-fashioned human error, there are still some cases that remain unexplained. But instead of jumping straight to the supernatural, I think we should explore some other plausible scientific hypotheses that might shed light on those remaining mysteries. That's where things get really interesting.
Okay, scientific explanations, I'm all ears. What do you have for me?
Well, one theory that's really caught my attention involves these things called methane hydrates. Imagine like these massive pockets of methane gas trapped beneath the ocean floor, and then all of a sudden, boom, they rupture, releasing these gigantic bubbles of gas that rise to the surface.
Wait, hold on. Are you telling me that a giant gas bubble could just, like, swallow a ship whole? How does that even work?
So when these methane bubbles erupt, they can drastically reduce the buoyancy of the water. Basically, they make it almost impossible for a ship to stay afloat. It's like they suddenly lose their ability to float.
Wow, that's crazy. So not sea monsters, but underwater gas bubbles causing all the trouble.
Exactly. And remember that powerful Gulf Stream we were talking about earlier? Well, it plays a role here too, you see. It's like this massive underwater river that can quickly sweep away any wreckage from a sinking, making it, well, virtually impossible to find.
Oh, yeah, the Gulf Stream, right. Okay, so that explains why it's so hard to find wreckage. But does that mean every ship that vanished in the Triangle just drifted away unnoticed? What about those ships they found abandoned, like totally empty, like the Connemara IV with no one on board?
Those are the cases that really make you scratch your head, aren't they? It's as if whatever happened, it happened so quickly, so out of the blue, that the crew didn't even have time to send out a distress signal or, react in any way.
It's like they were just plucked off the deck by some invisible hand.
It's definitely a chilling thought. And it's not just the Connemara IV. There are other cases like that too, Cases that just add to that whole mystique surrounding the Bermuda Triangle.
The ocean, it's a powerful force, that's for sure.
Absolutely. It can be unpredictable, unforgiving, and sometimes, even with all our modern technology and understanding, things happen that we just can't explain.
So we've got methane bubbles and a supercurrent. Those are some pretty compelling explanations, I gotta admit. But I'm still curious about those reports of sudden storms, rogue waves, and those, like, eerie calm patches that seem to appear out of nowhere. Are those just tall tales, or is there something to them?
Well, the Bermuda Triangle, it's known for its crazy weather patterns, that's for sure. It's located in a region where you have warm tropical air colliding with cooler air masses, and that creates the perfect conditions for sudden storms to form. It's like a breeding ground for intense weather. And rogue waves, those massive walls of water that seem to come out of nowhere, those are a real thing too, especially in areas with strong currents like, you guessed it, the Gulf Stream.
So those sudden storms and rogue waves, they might sound like something straight out of a pirate legend, but they're actually grounded in real-world science.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the human element in all of this. I mean, we tend to romanticize the ocean, but it's a dangerous place, especially if you're not prepared or if you underestimate its power.
That's a good point. It reminds me of the Marine Sulphur Queen, that massive freighter that disappeared in 1963. It was carrying molten sulfur, and there were all these theories about explosions and, dangerous cargo. Berlitz even mentions it in his book, a 425-foot freighter gone, just like that. No message, no trace, nothing. It definitely adds fuel to the mystery fire.
It does. And cases like that, where there's no clear-cut explanation, they really get people thinking about those, more outlandish possibilities.
Speaking of outlandish, there's another case that always gives me the creeps. The disappearance of the Witchcraft, that pleasure yacht that vanished off the coast of Miami back in 1967.
Ah, yes, the Witchcraft. Wasn't that the one where the owner, Dan Burak, a seasoned sailor, radioed for help? But when the Coast Guard got to his location, like just 20 minutes later, there was nothing there. It was as if the yacht just vanished into thin air, poof, gone.
Exactly. It's like something out of a ghost story, I'm telling you.
A truly baffling case, for sure. And while it's tempting to jump straight to supernatural explanations, I think it's important to consider more practical possibilities, too.
Like what? What kind of practical possibilities are we talking about?
Well, for example, could there have been some kind of catastrophic failure with the boat itself? A sudden leak? An engine malfunction? Something that led to a rapid sinking, Or maybe there was an error in reporting the location, a miscommunication that sent the Coast Guard to the wrong coordinates.
Those are good points.
Yes, sir.
It's easy to get caught up in the mystery and forget that sometimes the simplest explanations are the most likely. But even with human error and mechanical failures, there are still those cases that just, I don't know, they just defy easy explanation.
That's the enduring allure of the Bermuda Triangle, isn't it? It's this place where the boundaries of reality seem to, I don't know, they seem to blur. It's like this giant question mark on the map, daring us to find answers.
It really is. It's like we're all trying to solve this giant mystery novel. But even with all the research and investigation, it seems like the Bermuda Triangle always manages to keep a few of its secrets hidden.
It does. And while we may never have all the answers, the pursuit of those answers, that quest for knowledge, that's what keeps us engaged, keeps us exploring, keeps us wondering.
You know what? You're right. It's that sense of wonder. That's what keeps us coming back for more. But we've talked a lot about the documented disappearances, the scientific explanations. But what about the personal accounts? The stories from people who claim to have actually experienced something strange, something truly out of the ordinary within the Bermuda Triangle.
Yes, the first-hand accounts, those are always fascinating, aren't they?
Yeah.
They add that human element to the mystery, that sense that maybe, just maybe, there's more to this than meets the eye.
Like, for instance, Susan Cartwright, in her novel Bermuda Triangle, she's got this character, Swan, and he claims to have literally fallen through a hole in the ocean. And then he ends up back on land, completely unharmed. It's why.
That's a creepy one for sure, and it plays into those ideas of portals and dimensional rifts we were discussing earlier. Of course, in the context of a fictional story, we can take it with a grain of salt. But it does make you wonder if there are any documented cases of similar experiences out there, doesn't it?
It really does. It makes you think. And it leads us into another layer of this whole Bermuda Triangle mystery, the realm of anecdotal evidence. We've got these stories passed down through generations, accounts from sailors and pilots who claim to have encountered, well, let's just say strange phenomena within the triangle.
And those accounts, they're often dismissed as tall tales or hallucinations. But are there any common threads, any recurring themes that might suggest a shared experience, something more than just coincidence?
That's a great question. And it's something we definitely need to consider because even if we can explain away many of the documented disappearances with natural phenomena and human error, what about those persistent stories of unexplained lights, sudden shifts in weather, navigational anomalies, those things that just can't be easily dismissed?
And don't forget about those reports of time distortions. Charles Berlitz, in his book The Bermuda Triangle, he mentions instances where planes or ships seem to, I don't know, experience a shift in time, arriving earlier or later than expected.
Exactly. And those stories, even if they've been embellished over time, they point to something beyond our current understanding.
They do, and that's what makes the Bermuda Triangle such an enduring mystery. It's like a puzzle with missing pieces, a story with chapters yet to be written.
I agree. It's like this giant mystery novel that we're all trying to solve piece by piece.
It really is, and even with all the research and investigation, it seems like the Bermuda Triangle always manages to hold on to a few of its secrets, you know? It's like it's playing hide and seek with us.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's saying, you can try to figure me out, but I'll never fully reveal myself.
Exactly. But that's what keeps us coming back, isn't it? It's that challenge, that desire to understand, to unravel the truth behind the legends.
Absolutely. It's like this never-ending quest. And who knows, maybe someday we'll finally crack the code. Maybe we'll finally solve the mystery of the Bermuda Triangle.
Maybe, or maybe the mystery is part of the allure, you know? Maybe the not knowing, the wondering, that's what keeps us fascinated.
You've got a point there. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Bermuda Triangle, where do we stand? What have we learned?
I think we've learned that the Bermuda Triangle, it's more than just a collection of spooky stories and unexplained disappearances. It's a place where the boundaries of our understanding are tested, where science and speculation collide. It's a reminder that even in this age of advanced technology and, scientific breakthroughs, there are still mysteries out there, mysteries that continue to captivate and intrigue us.
Beautifully said. I couldn't have put it better myself. So to our listeners out there, we leave you with this. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep that sense of wonder alive. Because the world is full of mysteries, and the Bermuda Triangle is just one of the many that continue to beckon us to dive deeper. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep searching for those answers.